Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
It is time for a little Danny Unleashed, brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Not only is Easton Roofing one of the fastest growing companies in Kansas City, residential, commercial roofing, yes, they handle both of those. It's also one of the best places to work in Kansas City because of their spectacular growth. They are hiring. Listen, they're giving generous sign-on bonuses for qualified candidates. They will pay you to learn. If you have little or no experience, they have paid training, profit sharing, health insurance, 401k match, company vehicle and tools, guaranteed year-round work, even additional bonuses for veterans. Call Easton Roofing today if that sounds like a place you'd like to work, 913-257-5426. Joe Spiker and his great team do great work, but it's also a great place for you to work. So if you're looking for employment, call Joe Spiker and his team at Easton Roofing, 913-257-5426. 4 straight years voted best of houses, Angie's List Super Service Award winner. Incredible reviews on Google. Check them out for yourself. No payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. They're happy to take that payment via credit cards or PayPal. Financing is available as well. Call Easton Roofing today at 913-257-5426. They're online at eastonroofing.com. Danny, welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Soren. How about you? How's life?
Doing fine.
Life in the home studio.
Yeah, doing what I can. Keep everybody from being on top of each other. I will tell you that I am glad that they're playing the American Century Championship. I certainly don't. I hope there's no big party, right, where everybody's inside or something like that, and we end up with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes ill. But I look forward to watching it on television every year, even when I get back from it. It's always great to be out there, but it's great to watch it on TV. There's nothing like the backdrop of Lake Tahoe behind a golf course. There's that and the Kapalua, maybe that have that kind of beauty with the
Pebble Beach.
Was it Pinehurst in San Diego maybe or something?
Pebble Beach.
Where are the most beautiful courses?
Well, Pebble Beach on the 18th hole, you have the waves crashing into the the seawall there, so that's somewhat similar to that. And there's a couple others, but certainly the American Century with the boats floating and everything else is something. And it'll be kind of curious to see how that is handled. Whether people are stuffed into a boat right next to the next to the golf course. I don't know if they can do anything about that. Or I just keep saying, and I'd love to just stick to sports, but we just got to do better. I was thinking about the segment today, and we just completed a Bundesliga season, and I don't think any team had a significant player who was affected. We're about 3 weeks into the resumption of the Premier League. I know for a fact that no significant player has missed time, and here we are. And we've got 2 teams out of our soccer restart already. So that's not good.
No, it's not. And I'm with you, and I'm just adopting the do better. I mean, I think you either are or aren't going to be a part of the solution one way or the other. It just is what it is, so I don't want to go down that road here. But, yeah, it is scary. And I think the reality check was losing the non-conference games. I think a lot of football fans got a wake-up call with the Big Ten dropping theirs. And I haven't heard – I know the Pac-12 was going to have their meeting today. The SEC is supposed to be having one.
Monday, yeah.
Yeah, coming up. And I don't think the SEC – I think they're going to go kicking and screaming on dropping any games. But I think that's kind of a wake-up call to people that they're saying, listen, these are football teams run by education houses, theoretically smart people, and they're saying, nah, we're not messing with the little games. That's not a good sign.
No, I don't think it's a good sign. And, I'll just tell one little more story about this. I went to the convenience store to get some gas yesterday, and it is one that, has a chain. It's not the biggest one, so I don't want to get anybody in trouble because I tell this story. But anyway, so I walk in there, I've got my mask on, and, there's signs on the outside that say, you've got to have a mask to enter. So while I'm in there, 4 people came in the store. Only 1 was wearing a mask. And so they did their business ahead of me, and then I got to the checkout counter, and there were two guys working there, both wearing their masks. And I said, hey, how's your percentage of mask wearers? Because I had just seen 3 out of 4 people. And they said, well, it's gotten a little better, but 40% of the people who come in here at least don't have masks on. And I said, as they entered, do you say anything to them? And he said, well, at first we did, but then our managers told us to stop because people at the checkout counters were getting assaulted in their chain. So they have stopped saying anything to the people who come in without masks because of that.
No comment.
So anyway.
Yeah, well, we're not going to have any college football, so you can
right.
chuck
And
that
you
one
know,
off.
maybe it'll take no pro football. I don't know.
I know.
What?
That's my fear.
They'll find something else to blame.
That's my fear. That's where we're going to get to. Listen. Anyway, let's start with the biggest story of the week. I'm trying to have a positive outlook on things.
Do better. That's what I've tried. I try to keep it upbeat. Do better.
Yeah, I'm with you. Do better. But I do want to say that, we're going to move on.
Okay. Probably a good idea.
Well, I will say this. I appreciate the kind things that health professionals have sent me, confirming, where things are going and saying, hey, we appreciate you trying, looking out for us and trying to spread the word. So, thank you to all those folks that have sent those nice things. I know a bunch of guys on the station have gotten them. So thanks to those folks that are saying that. Let's move on to Patrick Mahomes' contract. Your reaction when you saw it, Danny, was?
Well, I didn't have as much of a reaction as most people did, and I'm sure people are out there unsurprised at that particular thing. I guess it was that, the fact that he actually did sign for 10 years that got people extra excited, but Patrick Mahomes was going to play football here for a long, long time. And I guess maybe a part of it, I think, is really the times we're in, that people really just want to have the ability to celebrate just about anything. And I think that's great. And they certainly did. And it was the topic of conversation on just about every television show you were watching and everything else. So that puts Kansas City in the spotlight. That's all good. But, I had little doubt that Patrick Mahomes is going to play football here for 15 years or so. So I guess my reaction was just sort of sun rises, millions rejoice. It was kind of like that, but I think it's great, and the way the contract's structured would make it remarkably difficult for the Chiefs to not honor it, even if for whatever reason they wouldn't have wanted to, and it also probably precludes any drama 5 years down the road but I don't think that was going to happen anyway. So I think it's great for Patrick Mahomes. It's great for Kansas City, puts him in the spotlight, and I guess the certainty is what people were celebrating because I don't think there was any real surprise in it.
Well, so I'm with you. Tell me why it was such a certainty to you when Chris Jones is threatening to hold out. Justin Houston has complained about his contract, and how long it took to finally get his contract and playing through the franchise tag and all that kind of stuff. Why were you so certain? Because I think there are things that have been done. Houston ultimately got paid. There are things that have been done that would give you, and Dak Prescott's in the middle of a contentious situation with the Cowboys. Why were you so convinced?
Well, I guess because we just hadn't heard any drama whatsoever, and every single comment, and there weren't many of them, from Patrick Mahomes indicated that he wanted to be here and be here for a long, long time. He and Andy Reid seemed to have an incredible simpatico. So it just seemed that there was no drama. There were no statements. Agents make comments if things aren't going well, or they go to sources and leak stuff. And we weren't seeing any of that. And hey, teams do that too. So there was just none of that. So I felt like this was going to get done. Maybe Mahomes would have wanted to wait a year for some more certainty as far as where the league was at, or play for a franchise tag for a whole boatload of money, but that didn't seem to be likely either. So I just thought there was an incredible amount of evidence that this was going to and did go amicably, and there was no real reason for concern for Chiefs fans at all.
Yeah, I would agree. I felt like where this was different is like it's the quarterback, and the Chiefs haven't had a franchise quarterback since Len Dawson. They are not letting this go no matter what it takes. And that was clear. Weren't you at least surprised that it was I know NFL contracts are not fully guaranteed like baseball contracts are, but the Chiefs are not being given enough credit for how much of a guarantee there really is in this contract, because I think most people, and we talked about this with Marcus Spears from ESPN yesterday, do not take the time to actually look through the details, because I think the details are what really separated. Marcus Spears from ESPN said, well, I'd still rather have Mike Trout's contract. Well, it's not even like, this is apples and oranges, but this is the closest thing we've seen to a guy getting a long-term, double-digit year contract in the NFL, and it's almost guaranteed.
Yeah, it is.
Because for 6 or 7 years, I mean, you're having to guarantee 2 years out through like 6 years of it, which gets you to the 7th year, and then every year after that, you're guaranteeing 1 year out. And so it's as close, and the numbers are giant, that barring the cap getting to $500 million somewhere along this way, it will be a significant hit. And I know it's going to go up. I think it's going to go down, and then it's going to go up, or it's going to stay flat and then go up when the new TV money comes in. But it's as close to going towards the Mike Trout route as we've seen anything in the NFL. I don't think that's being given enough credit. And so to me, the surprising part was how much how much guaranteed or virtually guaranteed money, and how big the money is when it's all said and done.
And the thing is, if the Chiefs wanted to get out of the contract, they'd be doing so because Patrick Mahomes would have gotten hurt. That's, to me, I mean, the chances of Patrick Mahomes all of a sudden turning into an average quarterback are just so remote that's almost not even worth discussing. So the only thing that could change the dynamics where the Chiefs would look down the road and say, I've got this enormous cap, is if he was hurt. So, yeah, it's if Patrick Mahomes stays healthy and plays well, I think, barring the market going completely bonkers, the contract may be played out in its entirety. But if they do have to revisit it, it's just because the quarterback market has gotten to the point where they got to pay him more.
Yeah, and all I could. So what makes it a success? I'll let you play this game. We pulled a few different categories and said, okay, let's quantify it. Let's put a mathematical approach to this into how it works. What makes it a success? We'll start with how many Super Bowls does he have to win for this to be a success? Not what you think he's going to do. What needs to happen for us to view this contract as a success? I'm going to ask you for Super Bowl wins, conference championships, so that would be you're figuring out how many other Super Bowl appearances, how many playoffs, and then any other, kind of specification you'd like to put on it. What would you say?
Well, for the contract itself, I think the only requirement is that Patrick Mahomes plays well. If they don't win Super Bowls and conference championship games, that's your fault, not the contract's fault. Now, maybe somebody would say, well, there was so much cap room taken up, but it doesn't seem like that's the case in this contract. So I do hear people talking about, well, here's the over-under and the amount of conference championships or Super Bowl appearances or Super Bowl championships to make it a success. I think if Patrick Mahomes plays incredibly high-level football, then the contract's a success. And the other stuff's on you.
So, Coward, quantify it by playing our game. And also give me the simple pleasure of putting your name down here as to what it will take.
I said what I think. I gave my opinion.
So, 0. He doesn't have to win a Super Bowl.
No. I think if he plays great football, you paid him to play great football. That's what you paid him for. And if
I will disagree with you. Like, two things there. One, I'm one of those people that says you got to get the quarterback contract right. And I was very critical of how much they were paying Alex Smith. I liked Alex Smith when he was $8 million a year. At $17 million a year, that team had a cap that at that time was like at $150 million. That team was not going to win a Super Bowl. It was impossible. I don't think there was a general manager coach combo. Well, there was, but it was going to take like a Ravens type of championship. You were going to have to be just so lights out number one on defense to do it because I don't think Alex Smith can win you games late. And at some point during a playoff run, you got to win a game late. And he's not the guy that was going to do that. So to me, when you do this contract, the goal is still to win a championship. And to make a guy the highest paid quarterback and the highest paid player, if he would live out this contract and achieve a bunch of the bonuses, in the history of team sports, you're not paying him to be pretty good. Like Dan Marino the rest of the way. You're not even paying him to be great and come up short every year in the postseason. You are paying him to win championships. So I think 0 can't be the answer. I'm happy to put it down for you, but that's my opinion. They have to get another championship for this contract to be a success.
I guess I'll just disagree on my own terms. Would it be disappointing? Yes, because if he's playing great football and they're not winning, conference championships, then they were messing up.
Okay, let me put it this way. Let me reiterate it. Okay. We went through all these things.
I'll just ask you this.
Well, hang on. No, let me give you an out. Let me see if this makes it easier for you to actually play ball.
I'll put a number on it if you want, but I gave my answer because I think
that's what I want you to do. I want you to say 0. I want you to just take whatever freaking number you want to take on this. Listen, this is not going on your tombstone. Here lies Danny Clinkscale. Gutless punk who wouldn't pick
You're going to outlive
Bowl.
both of us, so we couldn't put it on your tombstone.
Yes.
Right,
Exactly. So this is what I said. Listen, that's what I say. Super Bowl wins, conference championships, so you're basically predicting how many other Super Bowls they'll get to, and then playoff appearances over the next 12 years. And then you can add any other thing to it. So I'll make a note if you want when we get done with the others. Just needs to play great football, right? Fine, I'll put that on there. But what I said was, to give you an example, I said 1 Super Bowl, two more conference championships. So like 1 and 2 in the Super Bowl, 10 playoff appearances. Now I said, look, if he only goes to the playoffs 8 times because he's hurt 2 or 3 years, all right, and they go 3-1 in the Super Bowl, it's not a failure because he didn't get to 10 playoffs. Right? I'm just saying these are the things, the benchmarks I'm expecting him to get to. So, I'm sorry, and I didn't have 2 other, I had 1 other. So I said 2 Super Bowl appearances with 1 championship and 10 playoff appearances. But like I said, if he goes 3-0 in the Super Bowl and only makes 5 playoffs, I'm good. He's achieved it. There are ways that you can get there without, checking the box on each one of these. And then for my other, I said he needs to be a top 5 quarterback for 10 of the 12 years. Now, again, if he's a top 5 quarterback for only 6 of them, but they win 4 Super Bowls, it's a success. He's blown away the most important number on this.
Given the way you stated those things, I will say that he has to play great football or top 5 football in 8 of the 12 years.
Okay. 0
championships. I'll say that because I think if he's playing great football, that's what you're paying him to do. I guess what I'm thinking of is, has Aaron Rodgers been overpaid in his career? I don't think so. He's played great football for the Packers. It's their fault that they have not garnered more championships. So
I get that, but if Patrick Mahomes signed a 12-year, $12 million deal,
right,
how much more likely is it that they win championships?
Right, and in fact, I said that's what Chiefs fans should have been excited about, is if the news hadn't been. I think everybody was really super happy that it was $500 million, and what would have been better.
Well, because everybody wants to be Patrick Mahomes' lapdog.
I guess.
And they want him to be happy.
Right. The greater news would have been Patrick Mahomes signs for 12 years for $185 million. I mean, that would have been better news. But
I know. But that's my point. This is part of it. Yeah. Like I especially think it's all right to go ahead and put Super Bowls in it. When Andy Reid, did you hear the Zoom press conference?
Yes, I did. When
Andy Reid and Brett Veach continually on questions that might have been like, hey, do you like milk in the morning? And Patrick gave us a lot of room, by setting it up so we can sign other players. They couldn't stop stroking that subject throughout the entire thing. They went, I think, way overboard, but it worked. It worked. And you can call me, a crusty SOB, whatever you want. But, I mean, it worked. It worked nationally. It worked locally. I've got relatives going, the great thing about this deal is he gave them room to work with. What room? No. The number is enormous. And when I put it to Brett Veach, and I don't care, but, right, my job is to, in my opinion, is to explain what's going on. let me tell you what was going on in that press conference. They were blowing smoke up your ass. That's what was going on. You can't give a guy $500 million and have it not affect your cap. Now, if you want to tell me in years 7 through 12, the cap's gone way up and he ends up being cheap, that's great. But I think if he ends up being cheap, they're going to renegotiate it. The days of the cheap Patrick Mahomes is done. Now, there'll be pockets here and there where they can convert to signing bonus, backload money, which means they'll take a hit later and create a year, maybe twice during this deal, where they can create a year where they open up some cap and bring a guy in or lock up a guy who's really important. Yes, that does exist. And yes, he didn't demand a bunch of money up front, and he's given this team this year a chance to stay together and carry the Chris Jones number. Okay, he has done all those things, and for all those things, he should be commended. But the reason why I think it is fine for fans to expect a Super Bowl championship or two or
Agreed.
three is because they spent the whole press conference telling us this enables them to keep all the players. So there is no excuse. But I'm telling you, reality is BS. It gets way harder now.
I don't disagree with that. And one thing I will say, everybody loves Patrick Mahomes, so they don't want to. I mean, he went for top dollar. He did. I mean, he didn't. Nobody was going, whoa, Pat, what'd you do? You should have got way more money than that. I mean,
he wants for nothing in this contract other than money right now.
Right.
Like that's it. And clearly, as you see him wearing Coors Light shirts everywhere he goes now, he's cashing in on those paydays as well. And he is going to be Jordan-esque in the sense that and Aaron Rodgers-esque. I mean, sleepy little Green Bay, Wisconsin is not the reason Aaron Rodgers is the national
spokesperson for State Farm, right?
And Patrick Mahomes is already in sleepy little Kansas City, was already joining him on those ads. He's already superseded his market size. So the whole, well, I want to play for the Knicks because there's more marketing. No, he's beyond New York. He's national. So none of that crap applies. But to me, the thing that is important, though, is if you are going to sit there, and I mean, it was like a game plan, right? It was clearly a coordinated effort. It had been discussed, and they're like, this is how we're going to sell it. And whether it was Patrick telling them, listen, I don't want to look like the greedy pig. I mean, I want mine, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to look like the greedy pig. But we need to make sure everyone knows that I gave you guys some flexibility, which he did. I want to be clear. He gave them flexibility, but he didn't take a discount.
No.
It's just where they're going to move it into what year.
He absolutely didn't take a discount. And, you don't have to expect a guy to take a discount.
No,
but
he shouldn't.
But when we are to the point where this is, like I said, Patrick Mahomes doesn't even need to earn any money playing football, probably. He could work, his NFL salary could be $1 million, and he's going to be a super rich man. I mean, literally. So, if somebody wanted to, say that he could have done the Chiefs a little more of a solid, I'll listen to that. Sure. But he's the best. He should be paid the best, and I don't begrudge him the money. But he didn't do them favors. He could have. I guess he could have done worse, but
wasn't a hometown discount.
No, it was nothing resembling a hometown discount. In the short term, yes, he didn't demand a gigantic bunch of money up front. That
right.
is the one real thing that he did that was a service to the Chiefs.
Which is a reason why he may one day own a football team or a basketball team or a baseball team, because he's Jordan-esque in the sense that he clearly he has not pissed away every nickel he's earned to this point. And sitting there going,
right.
I got to have it right now.
Yeah, I got to
right?
have some. So I got bills to pay.
Yeah, exactly. That's not going on. So all that being said, Danny,
mm-hmm.
0 Super Bowls, how many conference championships? Say 0. I dare you.
I will say 0. I think his job is to play great football. If he plays great football, he earned his money, which makes it a good contract. So I will say that. The rest of it is for you to figure out. He's not going to be paid so much that you can't field a good football team. Could they have fielded a better football team? Yes. If he had decided.
God, you suck. God, you suck.
He's not playing your game.
Well, you get to play the game. Other people get to play the game. I get to play the game the way I want to play.
I know. You just really suck at it.
I admire that you didn't.
We're not.
He could not push you off that spot.
We're not
held
kicking
your
you out.
ground.
I'm just telling you, you really suck at it. And you're right, Curtis. I do actually admire that. He's the anti-Curtis.
For the guy who weighs, I'm 350. Danny's 150, and he held his spot much better than I did.
Oh, dude, because the best is like when we do these things, I always love to go to Curtis first because invariably then Jed goes and then I go, and somewhere between Jed and I, Curtis is like, yeah, you know what? Never mind what I was talking about. I'm going to go over here.
Because sometimes I'll hear a point
right,
that makes me change my mind. I'm a scientist.
Understand. I'm not hating on either one of you. I'm just pointing out the differences in how you go about it.
And he's like, I'm here. I'm not moving.
And just to make it official, okay, this playing great football could actually, we would all be happy. The contract would be a success with 0 playoffs as well. Can I put that down too?
If you want. Because I mean, if he's second in the MVP voting and they don't make the playoffs, it's not his fault.
But there's no way for those two things to occur.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with that. I don't think there's any chance in the world the Chiefs aren't going back to the Super Bowl.
Just like there's no chance in the world 12 years from now, the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, right? Let's presuming playing for 12 years with no injury that made him just like this lollipopped armed terrible quarterback, right? There's no way he plays for 12 years, goes to no Super Bowls, wins no conference championships, and makes no playoffs, and you look at it and go, yeah, good contract. Like there's no scenario.
Well,
because he can't play. The quarterback can't play great football and not make the playoffs for 12 years.
4-12.
Yes, I agree with that. Just because I said that for the contract to be a success, he just has to play great football. If he plays great football, they're going to go to conference championships and Super Bowls.
Which is why you use that as your benchmark.
Right.
That's right.
But I don't think it's a requirement because they could have just screwed the pooch on poor Patrick Mahomes.
That would not be awesome.
I mean, Alex Smith.
They could have fought. They surrounded him with a bunch of boobs, and then
Alex Smith was the quarterback of the Chiefs for Andy Reid's been here 7, so for 5 years.
Yeah.
For 5 years, Alex Smith was the quarterback of the Chiefs. He never played great football, and he went to 4 playoffs. That deal, the trade for Alex Smith, was a success.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they traded a second-round pick for the guy, and I will not say the second contract was a success because not winning a playoff game in the second one. Right? Or did the Texans come on the second one? I can't remember. Anyway.
Yes, I believe.
But not winning a playoff game on that second one, that sucks. That was not a success. That contract was not a success.
But he didn't play. But he didn't play great football. He played good football.
But good football got him in the playoffs 4 times in 5 years.
Right.
So I don't know.
I'm not arguing that the Chiefs are not going to make the playoffs and make conference championship games and make Super Bowls. I'm just saying that that's not the way I would judge the contract. I judge the contract based on the play of Patrick Mahomes.
What if he plays like crap and they win 4 Super Bowls?
So then the contract sucks.
I'm just trying.
Right? That's a great point, Curtis. Thank you.
No, that also is highly unlikely.
If they win Super Bowls despite Patrick Mahomes' sorry-ass performance, then it's a bad contract. They'll probably walk away from pitiful Pat.
So you've yet to say the number.
0.
Number of playoffs. 0?
I'll say 0 again.
Oh, my God. That was the most painful exercise.
Yeah, but it's more interesting than just 2.5, and everybody does that. I mean, a carnival barker can do that.
All right, we'll take a break, and we'll move on to the joy of now Chris Jones. Next, with Danny Klinkskill. It's Danny Unleashed, brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Easton Roofing, integrity matters, commercial and residential roofing projects. Yes, they do them. Best of Houses winner 4 straight years. Angela's Super Service Award winner as well. Find them online at eastonroofing.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
What Royals player had the highest season batting average without leading the league? I'll tell you, 4 players have hit .332 or better without leading the league. Who had the highest?
Did Hal lose when Hal and Willie were lost to Brett in the batting title? Were they up that high?
He's one of the 4.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Mac
about.
is 75 today. That's the departure point for this. He was at .332 when George was at .333 in 1976.
Willie wasn't that high?
Wow.
So there's 4 over 330?
4 .332 or greater. Mac at .332 is the 4th highest batting
Johnny
average.
Damon had a big year.
I think he's number 6 on that list. He's like 327.
Guys hit over 332 and didn't win the batting title?
Oh, Boggs is probably opposite. Well, Brett, I'll bet Brett did it.
Brett hit .335 in 1985. That's the 2nd highest.
Okay, going up against Boggs. Somebody else in that era.
Other 2 are steroid era.
Seitzer, did he hang a big number that rookie year?
Also, the 2 that are left are the same player.
Okay, so a guy good enough to hang that kind of number. Jose Offerman?
Mm-mm.
He's got some shocking.
Nothing.
You want the years?
Nothing is.
Jose Offerman actually has the highest career batting average in Royals history.
Isn't that crazy?
As a Royal.
Want the years?
Sure.
2000 and 2002.
Does this guy qualify for the batting title?
Oh, yeah.
What are we missing? I'm going to be.
2000.
This is embarrassing.
In 2002.
This is embarrassing.
And it's not Johnny Damon.
Not Johnny Damon.
I mean, Jermaine Dye didn't hit for average.
Oh, Mike
Sweeney.
Michael John Sweeney hit He hit .330 in 2000 and didn't win. He hit .340 in 2002
it's a shame.
and finished second to Manny Ramirez at .349.
I think that's just a reflection of the horrendous time for the Royals that it was. That he, stuff like that gets forgotten. What a great.
There are
hitter.
people that don't think Mike Sweeney was good.
I don't get that.
I mean, he was a great hitter. If you want to quibble with other stuff, go ahead. But
dude could rake.
Right.
Wow. He hit.
Like, what do you want me to quibble with? The relative, the drastic amount that hitting is more important than fielding.
playing first
defense
base
at first. I mean, that's. I'll take that bat and that glove.
I will say this: the organization's inability to find other players to where Mike Sweeney had to say, "Okay, fine, I'll be the DH." If he didn't butcher it up over at first base, there would be a much higher opinion of him.
Right.
But people are used to their little league coach telling them how important fielding is, and it's not.
So, in the context of our conversation, Mike Sweeney's contract was terrible. Of course, he signed it after he had his best year.
No. It was not terrible, and I'll tell you why. If you're going to pick at that sword.
I'm not. It wasn't terrible. I wasn't saying it was terrible.
No, I know what you're saying. No, but I know you weren't. I know that was being facetious, but
right.
You're trying to make a point. But let me explain. I would never. Well, so then, based on that theory, then Mike Trout sucks because they haven't won a single playoff game with Mike Trout, right? No, and the answer is no. Because no one baseball player comes even remotely close to the value of a quarterback. I think there's a reason why there are 2 people that carry a win and loss record on Pro Football Reference when it comes to the NFL. It's the head coach and it's the quarterback. And there's a reason why. Because the quarterback to me, roughly, and Eric Eager's on later, and I'll ask him. But I remember asking him, on a $200 million cap, what is Patrick Mahomes worth? This was in 2018 when he was tearing it up. He said he's worth $80 million. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we've run some numbers. That's really the importance of the quarterback. So from that standpoint, that's why I'm thrilled with the contract. He's still underpaid based upon what his value is to the team. Now, the flip side is that Brett Veach and Andy Reid got to be good enough to get it done, with a guy that in years, I think it's 3, 4, and 5, is going to be significantly higher percentage of the projected cap than any quarterback that's ever won.
There's no way that they can field an offensive team with as much talent as they have on it now unless they stunningly hit like a tight end, a wide receiver, and another wide receiver in the same draft who are cheap.
Well, they just have to hit them. They can hit them in successive drafts because the way these guys came together, like the real pieces that are the bonuses. Like, to me, they have to they got Kelsey in the 3rd and they got Tyreek Hill in the 5th.
Right, and the odds of that happening again are incredibly remote.
No, I think what's going to happen is they're going to have to draft those guys in the 1st or 2nd round, but then they're going to have to hit on defensive guys in the 3rd and 5th.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Sure.
But listen, I will give, Brett Veach being a part of the brain trust that selected both those guys. And can we point something else out about those guys? And listen, I know it's been a bumpy ride with Tyreek Hill, but both those guys were character questions coming out of college.
Yeah.
I had a conversation today with a guy in personnel in the NFL, a friend that I know that works for another team. He's not the Chiefs guy, and I always like to talk to him because I like to get his perspective on the Chiefs, right? I never talk to him about his team because I never want to put him in a bad spot, but I say, okay, what's your view on this guy? What's your view on this? What's your view on this? And it's always good to get an insider to the league, but an outsider's opinion. And, he is consistently, I mentioned this 2 years ago, of the Chiefs, like 80-man roster, they're like 45 of them or 50 of them. When they went to camp, is it 80? What do they go to camp with, 85 or 90 now?
I thought it was...
It's 85 scholarships. What is it? Is it 90 players in camp? I think it's 90.
I think
90.
I think it's 90, and they're going to take less. And then they were taking less this year.
They used to jump down to 75 and then 53. Now it all comes in one fell swoop, but it was 90.
So he told me that team had character flags on, it was more than 50 players on the Chiefs roster. Now, that was 2 years ago. That was basically the roster that Brett Veach inherited from John Dorsey. But two of those guys were Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And, we know Kelce was, kicked off the team for a little bit. And listen, so was Jared Allen was a character flag, right, when he came out, Hall of Fame player. Ended up being a great player for the Chiefs and Vikings. Did have some bumps, right, with the DUIs here, but a great guy in the community and certainly brought it all together. But, that's one of the things that, they have actually, we need to point out, done a really good job of either out-vetting everybody, because Kelsey's been nothing but has there been any warts on Kelsey?
Well, on the field.
Yeah, he did the motion against the Broncos. But
okay.
Beyond that,
all right,
no.
yes.
Yeah.
If you want to say that he, quote-unquote, embarrassed the franchise.
Threw a flag at a ref, and, so he had his moments.
Not even that.
But nothing off the
then.
field.
No, nothing off the field.
And nothing since that, nothing on the field. It's
and nothing.
3 years.
Yeah, that last, there was clearly like a moment that it finally clicked with him. And, they've done a pretty good job of taking some guys with question marks. Listen, I said it this year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was in a car, and either he or the guy he was with shot somebody to death. And I asked about that, when I was talking, and I said, what was the word on this guy? And they're like, yeah, everybody, we all knew about it, but everybody was satisfied that, no, it went down exactly how they said it. But so he said Edwards-Helaire didn't even have a flag. I don't know how you can be in a situation like that and not have a flag. But he goes, no, we didn't have a character flag on him, not at all. I go, okay. He goes, yeah. He said everybody asked about it. Everyone did their homework. But in fact, trust me, however much everybody likes Clyde Edwards-Helaire in that pick, if you'd have sat on this conversation, you'd like him even more. Okay, because the guy couldn't stop with the positivity.
Well, the other part of it is that with Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs did have to show some remarkable, whatever you want to call it, stick-to-itiveness or whatever. I would have cut the guy. That I think he crossed the line.
I don't think you would have if you had the information that they had when they had it.
I still
really
think
don't.
there was too much there, but that's me. And also I wouldn't have drafted him in the first place, so they got that part football right too. So
Right.
But some people would not have. Some franchises would have walked away. So they did have to, show that faith and in their minds do their due diligence. So yeah, they have done a good job with it, no question.
Yeah. So since you refused to really fully participate in my game,
yes,
we have another game.
Yeah. So then, what do you think the likelihood is that the rest of the team will do their part, meaning mostly Veach and Reed, to do whatever around good football playing Patrick Mahomes, that we could put some of these numbers other than zero next to some of these categories?
Like I said, I have faith that the Chiefs are going to be a good enough football team to win championships going forward because Patrick Mahomes is that good. They don't have to do a fantastic job around him or, pull rabbits out of hats because they are going to have a more challenging job on their hands than they did with a cheap Patrick Mahomes. But he's good enough that they only, I would say, have to do their job to maybe a B level, and they're better than that, I think. So I have a lot of faith that they can create a football team that can win.
All right, let's take a break. We're talking to Danny Clinkscale. He's brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. You'll find that out the moment you call 913-257-5426. That's 913-257-5426. When we come back, we'll get into the Chris Jones part of the conversation. Danny Clinkscale from DannyClinkscale.com is unleashed.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. What's the difference at this time of year as we head toward the warmer months for homeowners, and what should they be looking at, coronavirus or not?
If you didn't do a good job of home maintenance in the fall, cleaning your gutters out, when we get the spring rains, that can be a real problem. So you want to make sure that you've done a good job on your home maintenance, cleaning your gutters out. We can help with that. I always tell people they never get their roof inspected. They get their furnace inspected once a year, but they never get their roof inspected. And we do the inspection on your roof for free. So you call, you make an appointment, and we'll show up, do the inspection. It's free. You should have your roof looked at once a year. Take advantage of us. And most likely you're fine. And if there's a problem, hopefully we can get out in front of it and save you money in the end.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Of course, Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing. Find them online at eastonroofing.com, and they're hiring one of the fastest-growing companies in Kansas City. They need you. Generous sign-on bonus for qualified candidates. Additional bonus for veterans, paid training for those with little or no experience, profit sharing, health insurance, 401k match, company vehicle and tools, guaranteed year-round work. That's what you get with Easton Roofing. Find them online at eastonroofing.com or call at 913-257-5426. Taylor will probably be the first voice that you hear. She will be happy to take care of you, as our good buddy Sam, moving up in the company.
Yes.
So congratulations to Sam. She could not have been more helpful every time I've needed to call over there. So that is great to hear. And another example of how the Easton Roofing works. Do great work and get promoted. So another reason to go work for Joe Spiker and the team over at Easton Roofing. EastonRoofing.com. Integrity matters. Danny, so now what happens with Chris Jones?
I still am going to lean towards the fact that Chris Jones is either going to have to – that he's a short-term chief. Let's put it that way. Now, does that mean that they can have him for a couple more years? Probably much more likely now. But I don't think he's much interested in not getting a long-term contract. I think that that's been made pretty crystal clear to me. And I think there's a relatively good chance he doesn't play all the football games if we have all the football games this year. So I don't know if it doesn't really change my outlook on it very much, because I think that Chris Jones he's looking for every last dollar. That's the thing that's the impression I get. So, and I don't think the Chiefs either want or feel like, especially if he wants beyond the first 2 years, then it would become really difficult for him to get top dollar. And so the Chiefs, I don't think, are going to want to give it to him. And I do think that there's a little bit, there's part of me that thinks that Chris Jones is going to get fat and happy when he gets money. I can't shake that feeling. Maybe that's unfair, but that's just the way I'm thinking. I don't think he's going to, Frank Clark looks to me like he got his money and he doesn't care and he wants to play hard and play through pain and everything else. I don't get the same impression from Chris Jones, and like I said, that may be unfair of me, but that's just the way I feel, which is another reason why I wouldn't give him, top dollar.
I think it's because he's such an affable guy, such a listen, I had somebody in the league call him a clown. I think that's unfair, right? But I said, why is this guy why are there not like 1 million offers for this guy? And I was told that there are people that have been in the locker room that think he's a clown. And I'm like, okay, but he's a clown that, sacks the quarterback a lot, and this year brought it against the run and certainly stepped up big in the Super Bowl. I'm kind of with you. First of all, I wouldn't give it to him. There's only one position I will pay out the nose and top dollar for, quarterback. The rest would go. And I really think that the Chiefs may have had the exact plan that I have, which would have been, okay, I wouldn't even have offered him what they offered him. I've been told they offered him before, which was, $100 million over 6 years with about, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, somewhere in that range in guaranteed money. And he wanted more, which it's his prerogative to want more. Mm-hmm. And I think in normal times, he would get more. I think the plan was, okay, we'll spend that money on Frank Clark, who, as you said, I think they accurately assessed, he'll play hard even when he gets paid, and we'll have both of them for a year, and then we'll just trade Chris Jones if he doesn't come around to our number. And maybe there's no number anymore, and it's just we'll trade Chris Jones. For there to be no offers, it's because of the cap. And they might get one in training camp if he holds out into camp. Like, when did the Khalil Mack trade happen, Curtis? My recollection is that happened in camp.
Pretty late, yeah.
Yeah, he was holding out, and the Khalil Mack deal came down, and he went to the Bears. So I do hold out hope. I think the best scenario for the Chiefs is for somebody to come in at the 11th hour in training camp and give them, a first and a second would be great, but a couple of seconds, a second and a third. And I think right now the Chiefs would take it. And to get some more picks, because they're going to have a lot of guys leaving this team after this year.
September 1st.
No matter how much Patrick Mahomes, his flexibility, his contract is giving them. And so that, to me, is what you're hoping for. But I've been told that there were no offers for him at the draft. None. And so it's one of two things, or it's a combination. Either he is a clown, or they're all terrified of the cap. There's just no reason for it to be that way.
Yeah, I think the cap has a lot to do with it, and I think, and that's probably even more of a stumbling block then, because I think even as of the time of the draft, people didn't see this situation continuing to be so impactful on the sports world to the point where there's very much doubt that they're going to play college football, and if they don't do that, then there's increasing possibilities of at least missing some pro football.
So Drake found the music, so we're running out of time.
Yes.
Real quick, I had this posed to me by a friend. So what has to happen over the next 12 years for Andy Reid and Brett Veach to be considered a success?
I would say they have to win. If they have Patrick Mahomes and he doesn't get hurt, they should win more than one more Super Bowl.
Okay, two Super Bowls. How many championships? How many AFC championships?
I'll go 3. Okay. 3 or 4, but I'll go.
How many playoffs?
I think they have to maybe not miss the playoffs, but twice.
Okay. 2, 3, and 10. There it was. I thank my friend for texting me because I got it out of you. DannyClinkscale.com. Check out Danny's work there. He's brought to you by Easton.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.